The first time Darian ignored my business advice, I was 19 and he was 27. We were at Dad's retirement party. The house was full of family, laughter, and the smell of delicious food. Darian had just closed his first really big deal for his new trucking company, which he called Martech Logistics. He was so proud and excited, and he spent about 40 minutes talking about how his company worked while I quietly ate my salmon. Dad turned to me and asked, "Harlan, what do you think?" He probably asked out of politeness because everyone knew Darian liked to talk, and he liked to hear my opinion sometimes, even if it was different. I took a careful bite of my salmon and said, "Well, the prices you are charging seem tight, but maybe you should save some money before buying more trucks, just in case fuel prices go up or unexpected costs come." Darian laughed. He leaned back in his chair and waved his hand. "Stick to your college classes, Ratchi. This is a little more complicated than Econ 101. Everyone at the table chuckled. I didn't argue. I just went back to my salmon, quietly eating, while Darian went on about his company and his dreams. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me, where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? That was 14 years ago. I was now 33, and Darian was 41. Nothing had really changed. Darian had built Martech Logistics from a tiny 3-truck business into what he claimed was a $400 million company. He had 340 employees, offices in 12 different states, and a big corner office with a view that he never failed to brag about. I ran a small financial consulting firm from a modest office in downtown Seattle. I helped medium-sized companies plan how to grow and how to manage their money. I had 6 employees and made some steady profits, but Darian always found my business amusing. At family gatherings, he would ask me in a teasing way, like a parent might ask a child, if I was still playing with my little consulting projects. But what nobody in my family knew was that I had made my first $10 million by the time I was 25 by investing in technology companies. I had studied carefully, watched trends, and made smart choices about where to put my money. By the time I was 30, I had turned that $10 million into $340 million through smart investing, careful management, and one particularly lucky early investment in a cloud computing company that became huge. I lived quietly, didn't buy fancy things, and kept my real wealth secret. My consulting firm was real, but it was small and professional. It was like a cover for my main work. My real work was managing my large investments and helping other companies grow quietly. Sometimes I even helped my brother Darian's company grow, though nobody knew it was me helping him. 8 years ago, Darian ran into trouble. He had expanded his company too quickly, bought too many trucks, and borrowed too much money. He needed $180 million to cover his debts, pay for his trucks, and keep the company running while he figured out a way to fix his problems. His bank started looking for private investors to help him. I stepped in. Through a complicated set of legal companies and agreements, my lawyers set up a way for me to invest without anyone knowing it was me. I became the secret investor that saved Darian's company. The deal was perfect for both of us. I got a 12% return every year. I didn't have to sit on his board. I remained completely anonymous, and I could give advice quietly through Darian's financial advisor. Darian never knew that the person helping him behind the scenes was his own sister. For 8 years, I watched him take credit for success that my money helped build. And during all that time, he still mocked my small consulting business at family events, saying I didn't understand real business. Now we were at a family party at Darian's huge house in Bellevue. His estate was enormous, with a professionally decorated living room, shiny glass tables, and caterers serving fancy appetizers. Wine flowed freely. All 18 members of our family were there for an important announcement Darian wanted to make. Darian stood in front of us, looking like a CEO talking to shareholders. He beamed at everyone. "I want to share some incredible news," he said. He told us that his company, Martech Logistics, was being looked at by 3 very big companies that wanted to buy it. The value of his company was between $850 million and $1.1 billion. Everyone clapped. Dad was smiling from ear to ear. Mom was crying tears of pride. Darian's wife, Leora, was filming everything on her phone. "This is the result of 8 years of strategic planning, aggressive growth, and calculated risks," Darian said. "When I started this company 13 years ago with 3 trucks and a dream, people doubted me. But I understood leverage. I understood the scale. I understood the timing." He took a sip of wine and looked around the room proudly. I sat quietly, drinking my wine and thinking. If Darian's total company value was really $850 million to $1.1 billion, and he claimed that his personal share was $600 to $750 million, he was wrong. Very wrong. If you counted the debt and my secret investment, Darian's real share before taxes was maybe $180 million to $280 million. My share, the secret silent partner's share that he didn't know about, was actually 51% of the company, which meant I owned the majority of it. Harlan, you're quiet, Darian said, looking at me with his usual patronizing smile. Congratulations, I said evenly. Darian grinned at everyone. Take notes, Harlan. This is what strategic business building looks like. Not small consulting contracts, but real empire building. You need to understand capital markets, leverage, and scale. I'm familiar with capital markets, I said quietly. Darian looked at me and smirked. How's your little consulting firm? Still working out of that strip mall office? It's actually a downtown building, and yes, it's going fine, I said. Darian turned back to the room. See, that's the difference between small business thinking and real entrepreneurial vision. Harlan does fine, makes a comfortable living. But to think big, you need to understand leverage, scale, and timing. I interrupted calmly. Darian, maybe we should talk about your capital structure. The room went very quiet. Darian frowned. What? My capital structure? Yes, I said. The debt, equity, investor positions, and actual versus claimed ownership percentages. Those details matter. Darian's smile froze. I'm not going to bore everyone with technical details at a celebration, he said. I'm serious, I said calmly. If you claim your personal share is $600 to $750 million, you're either overstating your ownership or ignoring outstanding obligations. The room was dead silent. Darian's face turned red. Stick to your little side projects, Harlan, Darian said tightly, trying to stay in control. Real business is beyond you. You've never built anything significant. You've never managed serious capital. You're embarrassing yourself trying to lecture me about my own company. I understand, I said politely, nodding. No, you clearly don't, Darian shouted. These are Fortune 500 level deals. This is the big league. Dad tried to intervene. Darian is right, honey. This is very specialized stuff. Let's just celebrate your success. I smiled politely and went back to my wine, keeping calm. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Darian's financial advisor, Cashin Reeve. It said, I need to speak with you urgently. Darian is making statements about valuation that suggest he doesn't fully understand the capital structure. Should I clarify? I excused myself to the bathroom and called Cashin back. Miss Reeve, thank you for calling. I'm at Darian's celebration. What exactly is he claiming? I asked. He says the total company valuation is $850 million to $1.1 billion, and his personal equity is $600 million to $750 million, Cashin said quietly. That's not right, I said. He doesn't know I own 51% of the company through the LLC network. His real equity before taxes is $180 million to $240 million. He has no idea who the silent partner is. You're correct, Cashin said. He thinks it's a group of institutional investors. The acquisition talks are real, though. If they move forward, the full capital structure will become public during due diligence in about 60 days. That's when Darian will discover the truth. I see, I said. I think it's time to accelerate the timeline. I want to execute my withdrawal rights under the partnership agreement. There was silence on the other end. Miss Reeve, Cashin said slowly, that would trigger a forced liquidation event. I nodded to myself. That was exactly what I wanted. After all these years, Darian was about to learn that the sister he had always dismissed, the one he thought didn't understand real business, had been his majority stakeholder all along. The very company he took credit for building had been under my control in secret for 8 years. I could feel the tension building in the room just by thinking about it. Soon, Darian would have to explain everything. All the lies about his ownership, all the exaggerations about his wealth, would come crashing down. It would be shocking for him, shocking for the family, and shocking for everyone involved in the acquisition. I took a slow sip of wine and smiled quietly. For the first time in years, I felt the quiet satisfaction of knowing that, finally, the truth was about to come out. Darian had spent 14 years underestimating me. He had laughed at my small consulting business. He had assumed I didn't understand real business. And yet, he had built his empire on the foundation I had secretly provided. Now, in just a few weeks, everything would change. And I would finally have my moment, not to brag or take revenge, but simply to let the truth be known. After all, sometimes the biggest victories in business are the ones no one sees coming. Darian would have 90 days to buy my part of the company at the real market value, or he could agree to sell the company. But because of how much money he owed and how much he owned, he couldn't afford to buy my part. If he tried, it would either make him rush to sell the company or force him to find other people to invest money in the company, but at much worse terms for him. I understood what that meant. I asked myself, why am I doing this? Why now? I was tired of being invisible, even though I had worked for years to make someone else look important. Cashin, my friend and helper in all this, had been helping me for years. I remembered the 8 years I had spent quietly working on small projects while Darian built his business empire using the money I had invested. I realized I was done hiding. I was done staying quiet. I asked Cashin, "Can I ask why you made this decision? I feel invisible while providing the foundation for someone else's ego." Cashin, for 8 years, I focused on my little projects while he built his empire with my money. I am done being quiet. Cashin looked at me carefully. "When do you want to start the process to take your money out?" I said firmly, "Tonight. I want it done now." Cashin nodded. "Okay. I will send the official paperwork to the company lawyers. Darian will get it first thing Monday morning." "Miss Reeve, this is going to ruin your relationship with your brother," Cashin warned gently. I shook my head. "I don't think we ever had a real relationship. He has been dismissive, even though he unknowingly depended on me for everything. That's not a relationship worth saving. I'm done pretending." "Understood," Cashin said. "I'll begin the paperwork immediately. You should know that under the partnership agreement, Darian will have 7 days to respond once he receives the notice. During that period, he can request a meeting with the silent partner. Do you want to remain anonymous during that process?" I shook my head again. "No. When he asks to meet, tell him the truth. Tell him who has been his silent partner for the past 8 years. I am done hiding." I hung up the phone and went back to the party. Darian was there, holding court, telling everyone about his business strategy to an audience that hung on his every word. I stayed quietly in the corner, finishing my wine. The party continued for another 3 hours with laughter, clinking glasses, and celebration all around me. I left quietly, saying only polite goodbyes. Darian was too busy celebrating to notice my exit. Over the weekend, my lawyers finalized the withdrawal documentation. Everything was ready. On Monday morning at 9:47 a.m., Darian corporate lawyers received the official notice. The silent partner, who owned 51% of Martech Logistics, was exercising their withdrawal rights under the 2016 partnership agreement. Darian now had 7 days to respond. He had 3 options. Make a buyout offer at fair market value, which was between $433 and $561 million based on the current interest in selling the company. Agree to accelerate the sale of the company, with proceeds distributed based on ownership percentages. Find alternative financing to replace the silent partner. Darian called me at 10:23 a.m. I didn't answer. He called again at 10:31, 10:45, 11:02, and 11:28. I kept my phone on silent and continued with my Monday morning routine: coffee, checking emails, reviewing my investment portfolio, and organizing my day. At 2:15 p.m., Cashin called. Darian knows. His lawyer explained the partnership structure, the ownership percentages, and the withdrawal rights. He is requesting an emergency meeting with the silent partner. He doesn't know it's you yet, but he knows someone owns 51% of his company and is pulling out. He's not handling it well. The meeting can happen Wednesday at your office at 10 a.m. I asked, should I tell him who he will be meeting with? No, Cashin replied. Let it be a surprise. Tuesday was quiet. My phone showed 47 missed calls from Darian. His text messages changed from confused to frustrated and desperate. Who is the silent partner? Why didn't you tell me someone owned half my company? Is this corporate sabotage? My lawyers will fight this. Please call me back. I need your help figuring this out. I replied once at 9 p.m. I'll see you Wednesday at 10 a.m. at my office. The silent partner will be there. Wednesday morning, I arrived at my office at 8:30 a.m. My assistant, Isolde, had cleared my schedule so nothing would interrupt the meeting. Cashin arrived at 9:45 a.m., carrying a briefcase full of documents. At 9:58 a.m., Darian pulled into the parking lot in his sleek Mercedes. He walked into my office building with his lawyer, Thaddeus Cole, who I recognized from previous dealings. They looked confused to be meeting at my small consulting office. Isolde directed them to the conference room. I waited until exactly 10 a.m., then walked in with Cashin. Darian's face changed quickly. First confusion, then recognition, then more confusion, and finally a look of horror. "Harlan, what are you doing here? Where's the silent partner?" Darian asked nervously. I sat down across from him. "Hi, Darian. I am the silent partner." He stared at me in disbelief. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking," I said. I slid a folder across the table. It contained the corporate documents from 2016 showing the LLC network that owns 51% of Martech Logistics. The trail led directly to me. Cashin had been serving as intermediary for 8 years according to the anonymity protocols in the partnership agreement. Darian lawyer Thaddeus was already reviewing the documents. His face showed shock and disbelief. "This is impossible," Darian said. "You don't have this kind of money. You run a small consulting firm. You can't do this." "I built a $340 million portfolio over the last 15 years through strategic investing," I said calmly. "I've been an active angel investor in 17 companies and a silent partner in 9 ventures. Martech Logistics was my largest single investment at $180 million in 2016 when you were facing bankruptcy. I structured everything so the bank would think it was institutional investors, a consortium. I stayed completely anonymous. You have been operating under the impression that you owned 85% of your company. In reality, after accounting for debt conversion, you own 38%. I own 51%, and the remaining 11% is held by early employees through the equity compensation plan." Darian looked physically ill. 8 years? You've owned half my company for 8 years and never told me?" "Yes," I said. "I took a 12% annual return, which is below market for the risk level. I asked for no board seat, no public recognition, and no involvement in operations beyond strategic guidance that Cashin passed along anonymously. I've been the foundation of Martech Logistics' success, while you spent 8 years telling me I didn't understand real business." "Why?" His voice was barely above a whisper. 8 years ago, you were my brother and you needed help. I had the capital, and I believed in your vision, even if your execution needed work. I structured a complete investment to save your company without embarrassing you by revealing that your little sister was your financial savior. And now I am exercising my rights under a legal partnership agreement to withdraw my position. You have 3 options: buy me out, agree to accelerate the acquisition, or find alternative financing. Given your actual equity position and debt load, only option 2, the acquisition, really works." "The acquisition?" Darian asked flatly. "Yes," I confirmed. "It proceeds with both of us as equal partners in the negotiations. You own 38%, I own 51%. At the valuations you announced at your party, $850 million to $1.1 billion. Your net position would be approximately $180 to $240 million before taxes. My position would be $433 to $561 million. The numbers are crushing you. You're going to make more than twice what I make from the company we built together. You provided vision and operations. I provided 51% of the capital that made that vision possible. This is a partnership, even if you didn't know it until now." "So what happens?" Darian asked. "We just sell the company and everyone finds out my little sister owns more than me?" "Yes. During the acquisition due diligence, the acquiring company will discover the full ownership structure. Your friends, colleagues, and employees will learn that you've been operating with a majority partner you didn't know about." Darian put his head in his hands. His lawyer looked uncomfortable. "Why now?" Darian asked finally. "If you were fine staying silent for 8 years, why reveal yourself now? Why blow up the acquisition talks?" "I'm not blowing them up," I said. "I am participating in them transparently. As for why now, on Saturday you told me to stick to my little side projects. You said real business was beyond me. You've been saying versions of that for 14 years. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being dismissed while providing the foundation for your success. I'm tired of you claiming sole credit for building something that wouldn't exist without my capital. This isn't revenge. I'm enforcing the legal reality of our business relationship because I'm done pretending your perception matches reality. You do not own Martech Logistics alone, Darian. We do. It's time you acknowledged that." Cashin spoke up quietly. "Mr. Reeve, for what it's worth, your sister has been an extraordinary partner. Every major strategic decision you've made over the last 8 years, the fleet automation, the logistics software development, the regional expansion strategy, came from recommendations she fed through me. You thought they were coming from financial advisors or consultants. They were Harlan's ideas. Darian looked stricken. The automation project, that was your idea? Yes, I said calmly. You told me at Dad's birthday 3 years ago that automation was a tech fad for people who didn't understand the logistics industry. That was my idea. 2 months later, Cashin told you that you should try using smart computer systems to help control the trucks in your company. He said it like it was his own new idea. You agreed, and it turned out to be a great choice. The new computer program saved your company $22 million every year. That was a lot of money. You remembered something funny. 2 years earlier, at Thanksgiving dinner, you had said that making your own special software was a waste of money for a delivery company. You thought there were cheaper ways to work smarter. But 1 month after that dinner, Cashin said the same thing you had said before. He told Darian, your brother, to start a software project. Darian listened to him and did it. Now that software was the reason your company was doing so well. It made the company stronger than others and worth much more money. Darian looked at you and slowly shook his head. All the big ideas that worked well for the company came from me, he said. You just followed what I said through Cashin, while you kept telling me I didn't understand business. You looked back at him and said, not everything, Darian. I made lots of good choices too. I ran the company well. I took care of the workers and our customers. I made sure things worked day to day. But the big plans, how to grow, how to use money, and how to get more value. Yes, those came from you through Cashin. Darian frowned. So what do you want from me? He asked. Do you want me to say sorry? Or do you want everyone to know? You said calmly, I just want the truth between us. I want us to keep working on the company's sale together as real partners. We will share the money fairly, based on how much of the company each of us owns. And you must stop saying I don't understand business. I have been showing that I do for 8 years, but you didn't notice. Thaddeus, your lawyer, cleared his throat. Mr. Chun, he said, I think you should accept Miss Chen's plan. The legal papers show clearly that she owns most of the company. If you fight her, it will only make things take longer, and might even ruin the sale. The smart thing is to work with her. Darian looked at you in a strange way. His face showed respect, shame, and anger all at once. The family will find out, he said slowly. Mom, Dad, everyone. They will all know that my little sister owns more of my company than I do. They'll see that I took credit for things that were really your ideas. They'll think I'm a fool, the businessman who didn't even know who truly owned his company. He sat quietly for a long time. Then he said almost in a whisper, I've been terrible to you for 14 years. You nodded. Yes, you said softly. I'm sorry, he said, looking right into your eyes. I really am. I should have listened to you. I should have respected your ideas. I should have known you were smarter than me, but I was too proud to admit it. You smiled a little. You're not stupid, Darian, you said. You built something amazing. You worked hard. But you didn't do it alone, and now it's time to be honest about that. He took a deep breath. All right, he said. We'll move forward together. We'll both be honest. You get your 51%, I keep my 38%. We share the credit in public. You ran the day-to-day work. I brought in money and helped plan the big goals. Both of us were needed. One person alone couldn't have done it. Thaddeus took out some papers. Let's make this official, he said. Miss Chin will take back her plan to sell everything, but only if Mr. Chun helps with the sale and tells the truth about the partnership. Both of you must promise to be honest with the buying company. You all worked for 2 more hours, checking every word and every detail. By 12:30 that afternoon, both of you had signed the new agreement. The sale of the company would keep going. You and Darian would both join the meetings with the people who wanted to buy the company. The papers showed that you two were partners, not just brother and sister. As Darian was leaving the room, he stopped and turned back. That computer project, the one that saved $22 million every year. How did you know it would work? He asked. You smiled. Because I had already invested money in 3 other delivery companies that used the same kind of system. You said. I had seen how well it worked. I already knew how much money it could save. I had also given money to the software company that built our program. I knew how good they were. So you were learning about my business this whole time, Darian said, surprised. While I thought you were just running a small consulting business? Yes, you said simply. Darian shook his head slowly. I really have been an idiot, he said. You've been dismissive, you said gently. That's different. After Darian left, Cashin stayed behind. That went better than I thought, he said. I expected him to get angry. You nodded. He's still thinking about it, you said. The anger might come later. But Cashin, I didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted him to see who I really am. That's fair, Cashin said kindly. Over the next 3 months, the sale continued. You and Darian went to every meeting together. You spoke as business partners. The big company that wanted to buy yours looked carefully at everything. When they found out that you had secretly owned 51% of the business for 8 years, they weren't upset. In fact, they were impressed. They said it showed that your company had smart financial planning and long-term thinking. Finally, the deal was done. The company was sold for $980 million. Your share, 51%, was worth $499.8 million before taxes. Darian's 38% was worth $372.4 million before taxes. The last 11% went to the workers through the employee stock plan. The news stories about the sale mentioned both of you as co-founders. Darian gave interviews and said that the company had succeeded because of great partnerships and smart investors. He didn't hide your role anymore, though he didn't tell everyone right away that you were his sister. Of course, the family found out anyway. 2 weeks later, Mom called you. Harlan, I just saw the news, she said. It says you have owned 51% of the company since 2016. How did you do that? Where did you get $180 million to buy that much? I've been investing my money carefully for 15 years, you said. I've been more successful than anyone realized. Mom was quiet for a bit. Then she said, Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? You asked. Darian never thought my advice was worth listening to. Neither did Dad. So I decided to let my results speak louder than my words. Mom sighed. You made more money from the sale than Darian did. I own more of the company, you said. That's how ownership works. He's having a hard time with that, she said softly. His pride needed a lesson, you said. He ignored me for 14 years while depending on my money and my ideas. Now he's learning the truth. You could have told him sooner, Mom said. You didn't have to make it such a surprise. I helped him for 8 years quietly, you said. I never asked for thanks or extra money. I only wanted him to do well. He chose not to notice. The surprise was his own fault. You're being cruel, Mom said. I'm being honest, you replied. There's a difference. A week later, Dad called. I owe you an apology, he said right away. I've been proud of the wrong child for the wrong reasons. Darian built something great, but you were the one who made it possible. And we all treated you like you didn't understand business, even though you were the smartest one in the family. Thank you for saying that, Dad, you said quietly. He looked at you seriously. How did you make that much money without anyone noticing? I lived simply, you said. I didn't spend too much. I learned how to invest my money, and I didn't brag about it. Everyone saw what they wanted to see, the younger sister with a small job. No one looked closely enough to see that I actually understood money better than anyone else. That I had the money to save Darian's company, and the kindness to do it secretly. Until you got tired of hiding, he said. Yes, you said. He nodded. Darian told me you could have ruined him. You could have forced the company to close and taken everything. But you didn't. You made sure he still got hundreds of millions. I never wanted to ruin him, you said softly. I only wanted him to see me clearly. He sees you now, Dad said. We all do. In December, the money came through. After taxes, you got about $312 million, bringing your total worth to around $652 million. Darian got about $233 million after taxes. It was still a huge amount. You and Darian are not close now, but you're polite at family events. You can talk about work calmly. He's starting a new business that makes technology for delivery companies. He hasn't asked you to invest. You moved into a nicer apartment, but you still live simply and quietly. You now invest in small new companies under your own name. No more secrets. Sometimes you think back and wonder if you should have told Darian the truth earlier. Maybe things would have gone more smoothly. But then you remember one Saturday dinner when he said, "Stick to your little side projects. Real business is beyond you." He said that to the person who secretly owned most of his company, who saved it from failing, and who gave him the ideas that made him rich. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop protecting people from the truth. You didn't ruin your brother's business, you just showed him the truth. His company had always been standing on your support, your money, and your ideas. He had been standing on your foundation for 8 years without ever looking down to see who was holding him up. Now he knows. Now everyone knows. And you are done being invisible while being the one who made everything work. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop hiding your strength and let people finally see what was there all along.